Now let's discuss about national insurance contribution. So first of all, there are five types of national insurance contribution. First one is class 1 employer, and second one is class 1 employee. So this class 1 employer is the responsibility of employer to pay. Similarly, this class 1 employee is the responsibility of employee to pay. Now, these are basically related to the employment status. So, employer has to pay, as well as the employer has to deduct from the salary of the employee, class 1 employee. And this is the only one that employee needs to pay. As far as these two are concerned, these are payable on cash benefits, those cash benefits which are taxable in nature, and the benefits must be gross. While in case of class 1A, this is the responsibility of employer, and this is to be paid against non-cash taxable benefit. So that means the NIC is not payable on the exempt benefits. Non-cash taxable benefits such as car benefits, fuel benefit, use of assets. And last two, class 2 and class 4, is payable by a sole trader on the profit. In case of loss to the business, NIC is not payable. Now, this type of data will be provided to you in the text sheet. So this says that all the rates will be given. You just need to apply those rates. So first of all, we have class 1 employee, and the threshold has been given is that from £1 to 12570 of cash benefit, the NIC rate is nil. But if the cash benefit exceeds 12570 up till 50270, the rate is 12% for employee, and above the rate is only 2%. Now suppose the cash benefit given to employee, which is either salary or other cash benefit is suppose 70,000. So what is class 1 employee NIC? So 50270 minus 12571 multiplied by 12%, and 70,000 minus 50271 is to 2%. So let's calculate. 50270 minus 12570 into 0.12, and this is 4524. First one, and the second one is 70,000. 50271 into 0.02, and that is 394 or 395. So this is the class 1 in this case, which is 4918. Now, as far as the class 1 employer is concerned, the definition is same, but the threshold is different. From £1 to 9,100, the rate is 0%, and 9,101 above, the rate is 13.8%. So that means if the benefit is 70,000, the NIC is 9101 into 13.8%. This is for employer. So it's 70,000 minus 9101 into 13.8%. And the answer is 8404. Now, if this NIC is more than 5,000, then employer will get employment allowance of 5,000. So we'll deduct from this, and the rest is payable by the employer. The third one is class 1A, where there's no threshold, only the rate, which is same as class 1 employer, 13.8%. So suppose, for example, a car benefit was provided to an employee, and the taxable car benefit is suppose 2,000. So that means class 1A is now 13.8% on taxable car benefit. And this is 276. Now the fourth one is class 2, which is to be paid by a self-employed person. And the rate is fixed, which is 3.45 per week. And for the whole year, multiply by 52. So standard per annum payment is 179. But this is subject to a lower profit limit of 12570. That means if the profit is below this limit, there will be no class 2 NIC. Similarly, for class 4, there is a profit threshold. So in case of profit, if the profit limit is in between these two, then the rate is 9%. And if it is above this, the rate is 2%. The threshold is same as class 1 employee, but the rate is 9% and 2%. Now let's see in detail. In case of class 1 employee, when employee has to pay, so the contribution begins when the employee is aged 16 or above. The rate we have already discussed, the limit we have already discussed, and the contribution will be ceased when the employee reaches the pensionable age. As far as class 1 employer is concerned, the rate is 13.8%, the threshold is given, and it is to be payable from the employee's 16th birthday, but there is no upper limit in the case of class 1 employer. Definition of earnings: any remuneration derived from employment paid in cash or readily converted into cash. Gross earnings, that means no deduction is to be made from this. Any kind of deduction is not allowed. Dividends are not subject to NICs, even if they are drawn by a director shareholder in place of a monthly salary. Gross earning do not include the exempt employment benefit, most taxable non-cash benefits, except for remuneration received in the form of financial instrument, readily convertible assets, and non-cash vouchers. These are in the definition of cash assets. Similarly, tips directly received from customer, it will not be part of earnings. Mileage allowance received from employer, provided it does not exceed HMRC's approved mileage allowance rate of 45. If the reimbursement is suppose 50p, so as it exceeds, so the excess amount, which is the 5p, is subject to class 1 NIC, because this now will be the definition of the earnings. But if the compensation is less than 45, it will not be part of gross earning. As far as employment allowance is concerned, 5,000 employment allowance is there for an employer to be deducted from the NIC. But this allowance is not available to those companies where a director is the only employee, means a single director is the employee. In that case, this 5,000 is not available. Class 1A is subject to 13.8% available on taxable non-cash benefits. Self-employed, again 3.45 per week from their 16th birthday until they reach pensionable age. And this class 2 is to be paid under the self-assessment system. As far as class 4 is concerned, again the self-assessment system, and contribution will begin when employee age is 16. But contribution ceases when the taxpayer reaches pensionable age at the start of the relevant tax year. Now for 2 and 4, the definition of profit. The profit definition is tax adjusted trading profit. If there is any loss, the trading loss is to be deducted. Suppose we have a profit of 40,000 and we have unused losses of 10,000. So NIC is applicable on 30,000. That is class 4, because class 2 is fixed. Class 2 is fixed if the profit threshold is small profit threshold is satisfied. And class 4 is subject to the rate applicable on profit after adjustment of losses.